Okay, everybody, we're back with another episode of the Cantina Club. And for this week, as you can see by my shirt, we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and not Star Wars. So, a little bit about our history. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that we do love the Indiana Jones property, as it were. I've always loved the films. I've been, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the original film, and The Empire Strikes Back kind of run neck and neck for me as far as my favorite film of all time. So it's up there. Definitely Star Wars is my favorite, but Indiana Jones would be a close second. It's definitely in the running. We go back to the beginning, of course, when the original film came out in theaters in June of 1981. Went to see it more times than you can count. In the theater when that was released. It was just this mind-blowing, film that came out. And still to this day, I have incredible memories of that time. So what about you, Greedo? What do you think? What's the first thing you think about when you think about Indiana Jones?
Um, Nazis. I hate
Yeah,
those guys.
exactly.
Or I hate these guys, whatever that quote was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just think of Saturday afternoon movie
Hmm.
theater. I just it's hard to describe the just the love we have and I have for these movies.
Hmm.
The first one is on a pinnacle like the Paramount Mountain or whatever at the beginning.
Agreed. Yeah.
And none of the others compare for me.
Hmm.
I think it hit right at the exact right moment. The first one.
I think so. Yeah.
Um, I think they've had a hard time replicating that because that style of film, it's almost like it did it so well that you couldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
and even it's aged well. The movie's aged well, but um you'll never hear a laugh like you heard when Indiana Jones shot the swordsman.
Right. Right.
These days you just won't hear it. I've heard
Hmm.
that only a couple times in my life, a laugh go on that long, or a
Right. Because it
applause,
was
laughter,
so
just people so
unexpected,
freaking
and that
happy.
it was
They're
always a
just
combination of that, just a
yeah.
lot boisterous laughter with like huge applause.
Yeah. You think how many jokes just don't land in a movie,
Oh
or
yeah.
just you just kind of either cringe or
Oh
or
yeah. Don't
something.
worry. I saw The Flash yesterday. I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah.
You got excited when you see the Flash, huh?
Yeah. The movie was good.
This is gonna be the
Anyway,
good one.
I'm not.
This one's gonna be good.
I'm not getting sidetracked. Anyway.
Um, did you get flashed? Was there anybody naked?
I did not
Oh,
actually in
that's
the film
false
there
advertising.
was naked. Yeah.
Oh,
So
there was
I guess I
yeah.
technically did get
He
flashed.
should
Yeah.
be a Batman villain. The Flash he goes around flashing all the women in Gotham.
Right.
But no, anyway, the love for Raiders of the Lost Ark was just freaking intense. And
Yeah.
Temple of Doom kind of just showed me the real side of things. Like they're just not going to do this exactly right again.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
not all of their ideas are gold, so
Right.
they're
Right.
they're okay, they're a fun ride or whatever, but Raiders was perfect. And
Hmm.
I compare it to like we'd go to these movies so many times, and it was almost like chapters in a book or episodes of a TV show. They really knew what they were doing with the pacing of films and
Yeah.
with the different parts of films. They didn't just say, "Okay, this is a chase across the desert, and it goes from A to B, and at the end they confront
Right.
each other." They had amazing set pieces that transition through the film. So as a kid or a young person, wherever you're going, like, "Oh, all right, they're coming out of the snake temple.
Hmm.
Now we get the airplane fight,
Right.
and each section was as good or better than the last.
Yeah.
It held your interest, and it felt like you're seeing 10 movies in one sometimes,
You really did. Yeah.
and the music was amazing. Like because if nothing else, you're just listening to this wonderful music and watching the
Yeah.
action choreographed with it. Um, there's just not a whole lot that compares to it. And
No.
if you go to a theater and watch with an audience today, people will applaud and stuff when he shoots the swordsman, but it's not like the spontaneous
No,
amazement. I mean,
right.
we were just floored by this
Hmm.
stuff. It seems silly
Absolutely.
now, but we were floored. We were
Well, I
the
think,
theater was a whole different experience, which is now dying on the vine. Very hard to find now,
yeah.
even a theater experience, anything like that.
I mean, not to cut you off, but I think part of the reason for that is I think it's just when that scene happened in 1981, it was a whole lot more rare to see something like that than it
Right,
is in 2023. Now everybody's quirky and everybody's off the wall and does something different and unexpected. Back then, it was a lot more by the book. It doesn't mean it wasn't good, but it was by the book. It was,
right,
the action scenes ended in a certain way. And truth be told, that original scene was supposed to be a full on fight, with the whip versus swordsman
right,
and the whole
right.
bit, and they actually filmed it that way. And then finally, Harrison Ford was the one that came up with that. How about I just shoot the guy, and
Yeah,
just be and
I heard
just
he
be
was
done with it?
sick.
He was sick,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was sick
But
and just didn't have anything left
and
in the
it's funny
tank.
though because I've always heard that was the reason why. But yet, if you look at deleted scenes, they have deleted scenes of him
Of
actually
them
fighting the
rehearsing it.
guy, them
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
fighting and wrestling with
Uh-huh.
each other and all that kind of stuff. So
That's
they
another
did
thing
film
too
some of it.
to point out is that movie in particular and the ones
Mhm.
that came after, now you would call it excess because they say it's a popcorn filming. There's no movie. There's no thought required, but it is literally like 10 movies crammed into one. Like you could make a whole movie out of a marketplace setting with people fighting over something.
Right.
You can make a whole movie out of the intro where they're in the
Hmm.
temple and the all that stuff. Uh, you could make a whole movie about him at the university. It,
Right. You can even
and
make
then it
the
gets
whole
the
intro to the film, the whole Peru
yeah, the
thing.
Nazis don't even come in until
Yeah,
later,
it's like we can make a whole movie about him trying to find the idol in the
right.
Peruvian
I'm surprised
jungle,
they haven't done that prequel
Yeah,
yet, but
exactly.
but anyway, um so it depends on your opinion. Like these movies like Jaws and Star Wars and Raiders just reinvented the movies to where they had to spend more and more money to compete. Like those movies started off $10 million, then 40, 50, 100 million, 200 million. It doesn't have to do necessarily with the money figure, but you look at Raiders, there's a ton crammed into that movie,
Oh
and
yeah.
there's nothing bad
And there's
in that
supposed
whole
to be
film.
more, and there's supposed to have been more,
Yeah,
because there's some
yeah.
stuff in Temple of Doom that was that was originally written for Raiders, like the car chase. All that was originally going to be in Raiders.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
so there was going to be
Well,
even
it
more.
just goes to show you that it's like sometimes like Star Wars had all the A-list ideas in it, like
Hmm.
the ending battle with the Death Star, and Lucas, if he had known he was going to do three, would have just done that as the ending of Jedi. So they had to ramp it up and make
Right,
the ending of Jedi this. It was the same thing, but just bigger, more
bigger,
intense.
bigger, more
Faster, more
intense.
intense.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's hard to describe. I went to Raiders probably with you the first time I saw it.
Hmm.
May not have
I think
been though.
Yeah, I don't.
It was with
For
Gundark
some
for
reason, I
sure.
don't have a memory of the first time I saw it. Well, like I do with
Um,
all these other films. For some
yeah,
reason, I have a million memories of going to see it in the theater, but for some reason, I
I
can't remember which
I
one was the
remember the
first.
cool moody music with the Paramount mountain turning into the real
Yes,
mountain,
yes,
and then the moment the soundtrack is so cool when they're walking through the jungle and something's
yes.
going to happen, but you don't know what. You never see Harrison Ford's face. Um, they really built an icon there,
They did.
even
Yeah.
more so than Star Wars because Spielberg's directing it and Spielberg's setting him up to be an icon,
Hmm.
whereas he just naturally, because of his character and his charisma, made himself into one with Han Solo.
Right.
Um, and that I still remember that moment where the gun clicked and he turned his head and
Yeah.
then the whip comes out and then you get the close up of him and everything.
So great.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're just like, wow, this is cool already. And it's so hard now to get that same experience. I wish people could know what that's like. I know we all have our own things that we love and stuff, but
Yeah.
um it was just a different time, and these movies were just continually blowing us away.
Yeah.
Like it just it was wild. And so that's why I love Raiders so much is I didn't even expect anything from it. I don't think I was
Yeah, we
even
went
knew what it
into it
was
not
about.
knowing what would it even was. We just knew that it
Yeah, I
was
didn't know
Lucas
any.
and Spielberg together, and Harrison Ford was
And
in
I
it, so
thought
we're all in.
it also has that legacy of dumb names, from Lucasfilm stuff like
Right.
Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. There was no Indiana Jones on it when it came out. It was
No,
just
no,
Raiders of the Lost
exactly.
Ark.
Yeah.
And so we're like, Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
what?
What are they talking
So I
about?
had no
Yeah.
expectations, but um so anyway, stuff like that is just, you don't get many moments like that
Yeah.
presented to you, and it was for like $6 or something. We
Oh
went for like
yeah.
4.50 to
If
that day,
that,
you
yeah,
know what I
like
mean?
four, and then
It's
that was back
less
when they
than
had
a
like
coffee
Dollar
now.
Tuesdays,
Yeah.
all films were a dollar.
And you got to go through all of this just awesome afternoon of entertainment.
Hmm.
Um and these guys were just doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's like stuff we imagine, is they're imagining it too, and they're bringing it to us and putting it on the screen, and we're just freaked out seeing, acknowledging these epic achievements of imagination right in front
Right.
of us. And it wasn't computer generated, it wasn't,
Right. It was well before the
you
days
know,
of CGI. So we
yeah.
had all of this stuff was practical effects. It was all real stunts, real people doing this stuff.
The stunts and
So
Raiders are just freaking
insane.
insane.
And the fact
Yeah,
that
just
Harrison Ford did
insane.
so many of his own stunts, he
Yeah.
didn't do them all, but he did a lot of them. And
And they had a tremendous stunt crew and
they really
stuntmen and
did.
stunt
Yeah.
doubles for him. But anyway, so the original, what was the original question? Was you were talking about your memories of Raiders,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah. I was
that
just asking you what your initial thoughts
and
were.
yeah, these are the kind of things we just had in common, you and I, was
Hmm.
like, we love these films and we love Lucasfilm, and they just didn't let us down most of the time. It was like we assumed it was going to be either really good or at least really entertaining,
Yeah. Yeah.
and worth our time and worth our
Yeah. And they
enthusiasm. And
really never let us down,
yeah, they, you could argue there was chinks in the armor,
Oh, sure.
but
No, no, no. I'm not saying they're all
yeah,
perfect. I'm saying, but we
no,
still had a thorough, like even like Temple of
yes,
Doom. Yeah, we know that was
yeah,
a downturn in quality, but we still had a fun time watching the movie. It's not like we walked out of it going,
absolutely.
"Oh, that was garbage."
But I think making a Raiders based movie
Hmm.
has become so difficult,
Yeah.
that occasionally people will do adventure films that are really successful that are in the same vein.
Hmm.
None of them are as epic as Raiders was or anything.
Right.
But so that's why I've lost faith in this franchise to a degree, is because I just don't know. I'm like, I'm not sold that they still have great ideas for it,
Hmm.
because it was amazing. It had a span in the 80s where they still made a good one with the third one. They still brought in interesting things. Uh, it depends, we can rank them however we want to, but it still wasn't anywhere near the first one, in my opinion. But it still had a lot to say.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I can just barely bring myself to ever watch. It just
Me
doesn't even
too.
seem like the same thing. It's not
Yeah.
even close,
No.
but it had the same people behind it.
Yeah.
George Lucas was, you know, I'm sure they were passionate about their
Yeah.
ideas and
Lucas
everything,
and
but
Spielberg were in there. I mean, still had Harrison Ford and even brought
yeah,
Karen Allen back. Yeah.
from what I understand, Spielberg kind of allowed Lucas to dictate some things, or he went Lucas' direction on things that he felt iffy about,
Yeah.
but
Aliens.
like the
Yeah.
aliens at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
And but the whole thing just didn't seem to have the joy to it that the originals did, and I don't know what it is. So this one that's coming out, I know they're going to have to reinvent it some
Hmm.
because of Harrison Ford's age and everything. I wish they hadn't spoiled the de-aging stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we can assume that's going to happen because it happens in every movie now.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have had that be a surprise,
Yeah. I do too.
So
Yeah.
I'd prefer to go and just wipe my mind beforehand so I can
Hmm.
see it. But I think what people need to know about us and these films is we love these films.
Yeah.
So I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and root against it. I'm just
Absolutely not.
not going
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
I don't care about the politics or the Lucasfilm discontent
Hmm.
or anything. No way do I want it to fail. No
No
way.
way. No
Now,
way.
now, if it's terrible and it deserves to fail, that's a whole different thing, and that's even beyond my control.
It
It has nothing
fails
to do
on
with
its own
us.
merits. It
Yeah.
not doesn't fail because I'm not going to support it. Yeah.
But I know I'm never going to get that back. I'm never going to go
No.
sit down in an Indiana Jones movie and get that thrill I got
Right.
from, was Marion dead,
Hmm.
and
Right.
then you find out she's alive, and then um they're thrown in with the snakes and everything, just
Hmm.
the guy going over the little bump, and then it's a ginormous cliff that goes down forever in the
Yeah.
Jeep. It's like that stuff just worked back then. It
It
just
did.
worked for us.
100%.
It
Yeah.
was, and these guys were throwing these things at their special effects, and their visual guys say, "Can we do this?" okay, find a way to do it, and they
Find a
did
way to
it. It
do
was
it. Yep.
amazing, you know,
Yeah.
and it just brought exuberance and fun and
Yeah.
joy to us. And
Hmm.
I know I'm not going to get that from this new film, but if I can get something moving that connects me back to the character again. Indiana Jones to me was never a character that I was super, super connected to. I just loved it because it's Harrison Ford and because of what
Yeah.
he was doing. It's
Right.
not like I wanted to necessarily see where his life was going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Han Solo, I have much more of an active imagination about, even growing up. I wanted to see what he was doing next, everything. Indiana Jones, I only want to see it if it's good. You know, I only want to
Yeah.
see it if he's up to something really cool
Right. Right.
and interesting. And I feel like I've already seen it. You know, like how
Hmm.
much can one man endure, right?
Right.
Before he breaks. But so, in other words, I know it's not going to be what we would hope it would be because
Yeah.
that got crushed back in 2008 or whenever. But,
Hmm.
but, I just hope it's good. And I hope it's a fitting last film. I hope they don't do any more. If Harrison Ford's done, I hope they don't do any more Raiders, you know, so and so and the
Yeah. Yeah.
Raiders.
Right. Yeah. I'm guessing this is it.
Yeah.
Unless we get, I think the only other thing they may do is may do a TV show. Although from a lot of what I heard, they did have an animated one in the pre-planning stages and they canceled it. So I don't really know it was going to center around Abner Ravenwood actually. And
Oh,
but of course Indy would play a role in it, but it was going to be anime, kind of like in the style of Clone Wars from what I understand.
yeah.
And it was going to be an Indy series, but it got into pre-production, but then somehow for whatever reasons that we'll never know, probably it got canned. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that would have been interesting to see, I think. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it could have been.
our fandom, with Indiana Jones is very similar to that of Star Wars, meaning, you know, not only did we go and see all the films and love all the films, we bought the soundtracks. I mean, it's John Williams again,
The soundtrack is
we got the soundtracks, we bought all the magazines, we bought the toys, we got we used to go out on our bikes and, pretend to be riding, recreating the truck chase at the end of the movie,
right.
on our bikes.
We got injured in all kinds of ways doing stuff
Yeah.
like that. My favorite
But
was the garage door closing. And
yeah,
you had to grab
you
your
had to
hat or
roll
your
under it
mitt.
and grab the hat. Yeah.
Yeah, before the garage door got you. They didn't have the safety features back then as well as my time.
Right.
You could block that or whatever to where it would come down
Exactly.
on you.
Oh, that's so funny. But so that just kind of shows you the parallel a bit between the Star Wars and Indiana Jones fandom for us. Very, very close. So, what are your thoughts on? Let's move into the new film coming out, Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny, coming out in just under 2 weeks now from the date of this recording. What have you heard? I know we're both staying away from spoilers. We're not trying to.
Yeah,
I'm
no
not watching
spoilers,
any
please.
busy videos about here's what to expect or here's going to be
And if you've
here's a
seen it,
rumor, there's a rumor. I'm not paying attention to that stuff.
if you've seen it and you actually watch this video, we would ask you don't put any spoilers in the comments. If we find them, we will delete them, but I don't want to find them by reading them. So
Right, right,
I
right.
would
Thank you.
appreciate it. We would all appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's not, this channel is not about spoilers at all. We're
not
not
at all.
covering, we
Yeah,
speculate, but we're not covering the latest spoilers on most stuff because
exactly. There are plenty
that
of channels that
diminishes
do
our
that.
enjoyment.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you go at it if you want to go find those.
absolutely.
But I've heard, what everybody's heard, and I've seen. I was very surprised, like at Con when they premiered it at Con,
Hmm.
and Lucas, I mean not Lucas, but Ford was kind of teary eyed as he was getting this long standing ovation. I think it
Hmm.
was 5 minutes or 5.5 minutes or
Yeah,
something,
yeah. It was
and
intense. Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool. It must be really good and moving for people to do that. And so I looked it up. I wonder what Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, what standing ovation it got. It got 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was like a minute to a minute and a half longer. So how does that rate into quality of movie? I have no idea.
Right.
But I was very disturbed to see that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull got a 3.5 minute standing ovation. Um,
Yeah,
Now, to be
that's
honest,
disturbing.
if I was there, I'd probably
Sure.
think about
Right.
Han Solo and give him a standing
Yeah,
ovation
and I
too.
think that's more of celebrating the man versus celebrating the
Right,
film you just saw. Yeah.
especially now. And
Yeah.
it's the last hurrah, and
Right.
he's in his 80s, and
Hmm.
then the love for this guy is just off the charts.
Yeah,
It's
of course.
insane.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was one thing that I thought was kind of funny. Was like, yeah, that's not a measure of anything. But I was shocked when the critic reviews started coming out,
Hmm.
which weren't spoiler reviews, but they were just kind of yay or nay, and they were so mediocre. I expected,
Hmm.
like on Rotten Tomatoes, it started out at like 52% after they got enough to count them
Hmm.
towards their thing. Now it's about 55%. It hasn't really moved much off that.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen movies that I really, really liked that were rated lower than that, but it's still disturbing to me. It's like I just expected. I mean, one thing, the Lucasfilm things, they usually get decent reviews.
Yeah.
Even when we don't like them, they
Hmm.
tend to get higher reviews when we don't like them.
Right.
But so I'm not like just saying it's over, it's gonna suck. But uh, I was a little shocked by that after seeing the difference between the. And I will say I've noticed it seems like they are putting some money in promoting it. Like
Hmm.
you see billboards everywhere, skins on the on buses,
Yeah. Yeah.
commercials.
Oh yeah. There's
They've put out a bunch of posters and things.
tons of promotional stuff out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I went to the
Ford's
theater
Ford,
last week and to see another film, and there is so much stuff in the theater I went to. It
really,
was like
yeah,
every
huge
corner you walk, and it's
displays and
like this
everything.
massive stuff. There's like one that's got photos from like it's like these big 8 by 10 framed shots of like every film, all along it.
Wow,
Talks like the history of Indiana Jones. Another, I mean, this is this giant 3 dimensional stuff that goes all the way up the wall and all across. It's intense, not just a movie poster. It's
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, they're definitely trying, but
Yeah, yeah.
the poor reviews so far, which there's still some good ones, and even
Hmm.
some of the bad ones are just kind of mediocre. I don't know how they decide it's a bad review sometimes,
Right.
um, but now there's projections. I saw last week in some stories they can project box office pretty close. So sometimes sometimes they miss, but and they were saying it's projected to be a flop, not just
Yeah.
poorly received or whatever.
Hmm.
Like people just aren't buying the
But an
tickets.
actual flop. Yeah.
Now in my echo chamber, I see lots of people have already bought tickets. I haven't yet, but
Right. I
um,
actually just bought my tickets yesterday. Yeah.
yeah. So in our little echo chamber, yeah, lots of people are buying tickets. That doesn't make it a successful movie though,
Right.
especially with the kind of budget and everything it probably has.
Hmm.
Um, but we've also got this aspect of movies aren't what they used to be, and some very very few now take off and are a smash hit
Yeah.
like they used to be, and there's not even room for much competition. It seems like there's just not a whole lot of people going to the theater, except when something captures the public imagination and people just want to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Um, every year, I'm like, our theater is going to make it another year. You know what?
Yeah.
Uh, so, which would be a shame.
That would be
I'm all for it.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah,
I am
I'm all for it.
all
Theaters
about seeing
surviving
stuff
in
in the
the
theater. Yeah.
yeah,
So I go to movies as often as I can just to support it.
yeah. It's that's
I
good.
we've gotten back into a habit now where we're going, not that we're going to go every week, but we've been about 3 weeks in a row now to see a film on the weekend.
Good,
So
good.
yeah.
Yeah. I've fallen out of the habit, and I don't even usually check what's coming out.
Yeah.
I'm aware of this one because it's our thing,
Hmm.
but the movie I'd probably like to see the most in the theater is the new Spider-Verse one.
I would like to see that as well. I saw the
Because of the
first one was
animation,
really
and
good. Yeah.
I thought that the first one was great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
first one was
unexpectedly
excellent.
so.
Yeah.
And yeah, just all about stuff that grabs me. I can't even sit there and be a critic and say this is good or that is good. But to me, I know what I feel like is good, what I
Yeah.
enjoy,
Right.
what I think hits the right, has great pacing, has good characters, says things that are engaging to you, and that's what they need to do. And I don't know. And a lot of people will talk about things behind the scenes at Lucasfilm and about Kathleen Kennedy and what she's done since she's been in charge of Lucasfilm and about Lucas not being involved in all this stuff.
Hmm.
Um, who knows? I mean, I think at some point you have to judge everything by the results, and some of the results have been a definite miss. And
Yeah.
but The Mandalorian for me is a hit,
Yep.
and
Rogue One was a hit.
yeah, Rogue One's a massive hit. I will
Yeah.
always love that movie.
Yeah.
And talk about a shock. I was shocked when I saw that how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Same
But
here. Yeah.
as far as this IP and this franchise, we'll see. Maybe the public just overall just says it didn't want another one.
Could
Just
be.
not that interested in
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one.
Could be.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was pretty bad. I think it made
Agreed.
money
Yeah.
too, didn't it? Didn't it make a lot of money?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, but again, that's something that's based on the hype of
Yeah.
the first Indiana Jones film in
People were
20
like
years
looking
coming out,
forward
you
to coming
know.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so if this is better, much better than that, I would hope that it would be successful just to show us that, when they do a better job, you get rewarded, but people may have just been, burnt out. The effect of that may be irreversible.
And for the record, I don't know if this is worldwide or just domestic, but Crystal Skull made 790.7 million US dollars.
All right.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if that's total worldwide or if that's just domestic, but
Hmm.
700, what when I just Googled
That's
it real
probably
quick,
worldwide
came up with roughly 800 million.
because its box office dropped off. It
Yeah.
started off gangbusters and dropped off, I think, when people realized that, oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
isn't quite what we expected.
Right.
but yeah, this one it's going to be interesting to me because I want to bring this up too and see what you think about this. And this is
Mhm.
I don't even know how to approach this because if you don't want to even have any kind of spoilers, I'm going to say spoiler alert for this, but Harrison
Okay.
Ford's saying this stuff everywhere he's going. And I
Right.
watched his interviews.
So
You
it can't
trust him
be
not
too
to,
much of a spoiler then, I would
yeah,
assume.
no, but it's something about the setting of the movie. He basically has said in interviews that I always wanted to see what Indy did when he was old, like maybe when he was disenfranchised a bit, jaded, not knowing what to do next, and unhappy or whatever. I'm like, what?
Hmm.
It's-
Right. Your
I mean,
favorite
the things,
thing. Yep.
yeah, the things that actors get off on
Yeah, yeah.
and what I want to see seem to be
Right.
completely different a lot of times. But to me, it's like, no, man, no, I understand that makes it interesting for you to come back and do it, but
Portray it on an actor
yeah,
level. Yeah.
how unexpected would it be for him to be freaking happy,
Right.
and successful and have
Yeah.
been earned a good life or something or accomplished something that he felt at peace with instead of why do we have to make character arcs for everything? I mean, was
Yeah.
Indiana Jones really a character arc character? Was he?
No, not really. No.
I mean, he did have one with his dad.
Well, yeah, but
They had internal character arcs, like
sure, sure.
he built kind of a family and
Yeah,
took
within
boys
the
in.
context of the film and
Yeah,
a little bit in Crystal Skull, but
but
that's
yeah,
yeah,
he was still the same guy though through
right.
all three movies. It's not like
Hmm.
he's just fundamentally changed
Right.
and
We don't see
wasn't
a
gonna.
we don't see a growth pattern with him, as it
No, he's
were.
still gonna
Yeah.
go around shooting Nazis and whipping people and
Yeah.
punching the crap out of bad guys and
Yeah.
trying to recover artifacts. And you still don't know
Exactly.
whether he's doing it totally for the good or just because he's driven by this
Right.
obsession with them. But that would be more interesting to me to explore. Although that's also could be jaded. If you start putting him into the uh, grave robber type, artifact
Right.
stealer.
Right.
That could, but whatever. But yeah, that we seem to have the same story over and over again with the older characters, where
Hmm.
they want to just start with them being uh deconstructed. And then
Yeah.
we get the joy of seeing him put on the hat, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
and pick up the whip again and load the gun.
Right.
But I just, yeah, when I saw the preview too, and it's again spoilers, but when Sala said, "There's still the jungle, there's still the whatever," and he's like,
Hmm.
"Is there?"
Right. Yeah. He's like,
And
really?
like turned
Is
his
there really
back on
that?
Sala. Yeah,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why do we
It's
want to
just,
see broken
yeah.
down, disenchanted? Yeah, just I'm over it. I just want to sit
And
here and yell at
yeah,
kids on my porch, you know?
right. And Ford said, "I want to see him like that, and then muster up enough to get through one more thing or whatever, and kind of refine himself." And it's like, I don't know, man. I
Yeah.
just
Why
don't
does he
know.
have to find himself? Why can't he already be there?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. At the end of the day, I could give a rat's ass about
If
critics'
it
rating.
and if oh no, absolutely. Critics, I've never
Yeah,
given anything to
if
their
I enjoy it and it's good for me, but
that's all that
this just happens
matters.
to be a sore spot for me,
Yeah.
that they're going to tell the same story again. It's like I just I
Hmm.
hope they pull it off. I hope they do it well.
Right.
I hope he's happy
Agreed.
for
Yeah.
once. But
Exactly.
so any thoughts on that storyline or that aspect of what they're promoting it as? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
The-
I just agree with you on that stuff. I would just as soon go into it with more of a lighthearted, just here's another action adventure featuring Indiana Jones than a character building. Let's see how he pulls himself up, from his, he's going to retire and
right.
he's old and he's creaky and he's got arthritis now or something. I just that part,
No,
that aspect
I'd
of it
rather them come to
doesn't
him
appeal
and
to me.
say, I'd rather them come to him and say, look, we know you have everything. And we
Hmm.
know you hung this stuff up a long time ago, but you're the only person with the
Right.
expertise and the track record
Hmm.
to get this done. And something I would bring something from the past movies back, like the Ark.
Hmm.
It started with the Ark,
Let's end it
uh,
with the art. Yeah.
maybe into with the Ark or something. I don't know,
Hmm.
and then go from where maybe him getting involved in that he loses things to where he becomes, maybe he loses some of that happiness or whatever, or
Hmm.
we could put Shia LaBeouf or whatever his name is. We
Yeah.
can we can blow him up in a plane as he wouldn't have to appear in the movie. I mean, no,
Right.
then I prefer to see something like that rather than how many years has Indiana Jones been sitting there being old, just like
Right.
I don't like life,
Yeah.
but I guess I'll do something before I die. It's like
Uh-huh.
oh my God, I just don't know if I can handle it. It's gonna break my heart, but
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
maybe not. Maybe
Huh.
not. I'm hold
Yeah.
on to that hope, but it's not my favorite storyline or arc
No,
for a character.
no, I agree. I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah. Not
Um,
everybody ends up like that, folks.
no, exactly. Not
Right.
everybody ends up bitter and
No,
angry and
no. You don't have to, you
downtrodden.
do not have to do that.
Right. It's not a pre-written, predestined thing for
No.
everyone.
No. But I understand there is a lot of heroic mythology, and if Gundar was here, she could tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Beowulf ended up kind of that way, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of wisdom in that heroes
Yeah.
peak in high school or whatever you want to call it. They peak with their heroic deed, and there's the conflicts aren't there for them to excel at anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get it, but damn, I didn't want to see that in this. But Harrison Ford, I just hope they give him the material and he knocks it out of the park, for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So that's basically what we're looking at. I'm just looking forward to it being another hopefully engaging adventure. To
yeah,
end it, we've got, of course, we talked a little bit about it, the de-aging technology, which technically, from what I understand, it's not de-aging technology. They've actually just compiled actual footage from, 40 years ago of Harrison Ford in to make this film. I'm sure there's obviously an aspect of CGI, but it's not, from what I understand, the traditional de-aging that we've been seeing in films recently. Um,
yeah. For some reason, he keeps wanting to emphasize that
Yeah,
it's
every interview he talks about it. It's not
yeah,
de-aging. It's they've got
it's
this entire library
yeah.
of every frame of film ever shot of me. Yeah,
That's cool. Another thing I want
yeah,
to say is I hope they have good villains in this one.
yeah.
I always say this, hey, we need good villains and
Hmm.
uh, for these types of franchises and everything.
Yeah.
And I hope Mads Mikkelsen is given a chance to shine.
To really shine
And
as a villain, I agree.
yeah, at least even if he's sparingly used, I hope he's effective, and I hope
Hmm.
they like I brought up earlier, iconography is a huge part of Raiders,
Yeah.
and I hope like when Tot
Hmm.
brought out the what we thought was going to be a torture instrument, and he ends up hanging his coat on
And it
it.
was a coat hanger. Yeah.
Right? How did that stuff work? It just worked beautifully, though. It was like
Yeah. It
we
was
were along
so
for the
great.
ride, so we were so
Yeah.
invested.
Hmm.
There's no way it could fail. Um, Gags like that, and he was such a
Yeah.
great presence.
Deadpan
Uh,
actor for that. Yeah.
yeah, he was his presence in that movie was so great. I mean, they had villains galore in that movie.
Oh
Take
yeah.
your pick,
Oh my gosh, Dietrich and
everybody was
Belloc and
perfect.
Tot
Yeah.
and yeah,
And now we're
Gobler
like
and
looking around,
everybody.
where's my villain? I can't
Right,
find him.
exactly.
I can't find a memorable one anywhere. Uh,
Right.
so I hope Mads Mikkelsen is effective as a villain and whoever else they have as a villain. And I'm really trying to stay unspoiled as far as any cast extras or
Hmm.
because there's implications in this movie that the door could be wide open to all kinds of stuff. So
Right. Yeah,
um
I'm staying away from that as well.
yeah,
I haven't read any cast lists
no,
or
I don't
anything
want
like
that
that. Yeah.
ruined. And
Mm-mm.
anyway, so
So,
I guess the main thing to say is we love the Raiders franchise.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't you've been more invested in it of late than I have, seeking out opportunities to go see in the theater and things like that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you've always been a little more of a fan than I have been. as from the later movies and stuff anyway.
Right, right.
And you can do a one-man show of Raiders of the Lost Ark at the drop of a hat.
Probably so.
I know you can. I have absolute faith. But another exciting thing, just we'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, is we're
Mhm.
going to get another Williams soundtrack, right? Didn't he unretire again, or
Right.
did he
This
do
was
parts of it?
technically supposed to be his last. I don't believe he did the full thing, but he did quite a he's from what I'm
He
understanding, he scored the film but didn't like do the entire soundtrack.
Okay, all
I
right.
think
So
maybe he
inspired by John
well, no, I
Williamson,
don't think I
partially.
mean, I think he was physically there doing
Yeah.
the writing and the conducting. I just don't
Okay.
think he may have done like 40% of it, who knows, and
Okay.
maybe wrote the themes that some other people took and turned into something.
Well, anyway, that's something to really look forward to as a
Yeah,
soundtrack as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I would have given anything to be at that premiere where he conducted the orchestra
Oh,
for
yeah.
some of the pieces. I mean, that
Phenomenal. Yeah.
amazing. It's like, hey, the guy's like 92 or something, keeps doing things like that.
He's still
He's
working. Yeah.
unbelievable. He's just
Hmm.
unbelievable icon. How many icons can you get for one film?
I
It's like
know. Yeah, that's the thing.
uh
Yeah,
but anyway, so that's
incredible.
another thing to look forward to is the
Yeah.
Raiders soundtrack played that until it warped. The
Oh
final
yeah,
warped.
absolutely. Played it
It
until the
was
grooves wore out.
amazing. And the
Yeah,
and the and the soundtrack was, I think, a single record, and I
it
was
was.
always
Yeah.
upset about that because it was missing some of my favorite pieces
Pieces.
of
Yeah,
music from the
absolutely.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been an easy double LP. And I guess we should also mention that this is the first and only apparently Indiana Jones film not directed by Steven Spielberg. So that'll be
Oh,
something else to
true.
kind of see,
Yeah.
how the feel is of a film not directed by Steven Spielberg. So
Hmm.
I have every confidence it'll be good, but yeah, you never know till you see it. You never know till
No.
it's a crystal
Yeah.
skull or not.
It's
So
all about that story. It's
yep.
all about that story.
Exactly. All right. So that's our take on that. Let us know your thoughts. And again, please no spoilers if you know anything in the comments. I don't want to be spoiled before we see this film, and I know Greedo doesn't either. So just keep it to speculation at this point, and we'd love to see what you think is coming in this film, and if you're looking forward to it or not. I'll probably throw a couple of polls up between now and then as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it though. And then we got our tickets for 6 o'clock.